Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. That's what Warner Brothers was shouting all the way to the bank back in 1988.
Yeah.
The studio was keen to capitalize on the newly minted pop culture icon, and so various ideas were of course floated for a sequel, the most infamous of which, entitled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, a name that has struck cringe into the hearts of fans for years. But here's the thing, I am more than willing to say it could have been great. Today, we're going to breach the development limbo that trapped the unlikely Beetlejuice follow-up, the quirky subgenre that was a shockingly perfect fit, and why the Hawaiian script had Burton so juiced up. So slap on your swimsuits because we're diving headfirst into the putrid waters of Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
It's showtime.
Beetlejuice is such a specific movie. There's really nothing else like it. Its combination of gothic horror, romance, and comedy coming together on screen in a blend that's truly unique to Tim Burton, and frankly, kinda surprising that such a unicorn even exists. Even the studios were dubious, so how do you get it made in the first place? Following the massive success of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which pulled in $40 million on a $7 million budget, Burton had his pick of what his next project would be. And so, Warner Brothers invited the filmmaker to direct their next big theatrical hit, starring John Candy as a talking horse.
Fred, let me explain. This is an unbelievable coincidence. You see, they were looking for another horse named Dawn. Imagine 2 horses in the building.
Yeah, Burton hard passed on that one, setting his sights a little higher.
I'm Batman.
Studio, however, wasn't sold on Burton's dark gothic take on the Caped Crusader quite yet.
What else you got, Burton, buddy?
Said some executive, probably.
Becky, this is hardly the...
Soon after getting the brush off for his Batman idea, Tim came across a strange little script courtesy of producer David Geffen. Now, we all know this movie like the back of our skulls. The Maitlands find themselves, well, dead and trapped in their former home with the eccentric Dietz family.
I could live here.
When the Maitlands fail to scare the Dietzes out of the house, the ghosts seek the aid of a mischievous and unpredictable bio-exorcist, culminating in a supernatural wedding showdown in which Lydia dies tragically in a fire, joining the Maitlands in a happily ever afterlife. Wait, actually, you know what? That's the original ending from screenwriters Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson. A couple of people said to us, do you really think that's a good idea? Is that really the message you want to be sending to the teenagers of the world? Die in a fire?
Being dead really doesn't make things any easier.
The final draft ends with the Dietzes cohabitating with the Maitlands, and this prompted screenwriter Larry Wilson to fantasize what these characters might endure living with the dead. Mr. Dietz would have developed a crush on Gina Davis's character. That would have been my idea. It would have been driven by character and not driven by premise. But Wilson's idea never grew into a first draft.
We come for your daughter, Chuck.
Although the original Beetlejuice was a smash success for writers Wilson and McDowell, they didn't achieve the final draft all alone. By 1988, Burton believed his writers were burnt out, and so he brought in a fresh fighter in the form of script doctor Warren Skaaren, who, according to Burton, made significant contributions. Originally, Lydia, the key character in many ways, the portal for so many people, had a sister. She was the goth, the sister was the straight one.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Warren got rid of the sister, and what a good decision, because then it all became about Lydia. Skaaren also played a major role in defining the Beetlejuice character. He mined Native American trickster archetypes to transform the character from the humorless, murderous, winged demon written in the early drafts into a scene-stealing, maniacal scoundrel. He was proud of helping shape a character who, on the page in some of those early drafts, had been unlikable and not accessible at all to the average viewer. It's no surprise Skaaren harbored a lot of love for the character, which is perhaps why the studio charged him with writing a sequel, which he titled Beetlejuice in Love, which was speculated to have drawn inspiration from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera. In Skaaren's sequel, Beetlejuice has a new mark, Leo, an opera singer who tragically dies while proposing to his girlfriend, Julia. When Leo enters the afterlife, Beetlejuice manipulates the star-crossed lover into an opportunity to return to the mortal world where he can get hitched for a green card, or whatever that is. What ensues is a melodrama that ends with the singer reincarnated as a baby and put into his girlfriend's care.
It's just too creepy.
Warren Skaaren took leave of the mortal world shortly after finishing his draft of Beetlejuice in Love. Needless to say, that script joined the dusty halls of undeveloped, decomposing pages. Like the determined titular ghost with the most, however, the idea of a Beetlejuice sequel would not stay buried. As far as the studio was concerned, there was still golden in their hills, circa early 1990s, and if another writer could pan some of that treasure, the possibility was still shaking its body line, as Harry Belafonte would have it. By 1990, Burton had his hands full, 1 year into producing the Beetlejuice cartoon and knee-deep in the dark alleys of Gotham with Batman Returns. He didn't have a clear picture of what a follow-up to Beetlejuice might even be. According to uncredited Batman writer Jonathan Jims, Tim thought it would be funny to match the surfing backdrop of a beach movie with some sort of German expressionism because they're totally wrong together. And you know what? That makes sense. The clash between bleak and tattered monochrome with bright and whimsical colors has always been a trademark of Burton's style, one that hadn't always been met with understanding. Burton's ideas have a long history of being met with skepticism, with projects deemed risky by studio executives and marketing departments. The only reason Edward Scissorhands ended up at 20th Century Fox was because Warner Brothers dropped the project, fearing it was too weird for broad appeal. Tim Burton's love for the unconventional proved a linchpin in his professional relationship with the British playwright Jonathan Jims, whose work bore titles like The Tax Exile, Naked Robots, The Paranormalist, and Susan's Breasts. The plays blended satire and dark comedy, prompting Burton to bring Jims on as an uncredited contributor to the Batman script. Jims saw firsthand how Burton could blend contrasting elements, in Batman's case, comic book camp with the brooding gothic aesthetic, and was willing to take a leap on Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. And so, Burton put Jims in charge of fleshing this wild hair of a concept out into a script. Jims' premise is pretty straightforward. A few years after the events of the first film, the Dietz family travels to Hawaii to develop a luxury resort, which disturbs the island's ancient spirits. The story is told from the point of view of Lydia, but the script gives a lot more screen time to the afterlife's leading bio-exorcist compared to the 17 minutes he gets in the original film. In fact, Jims' sequel begins with a day in the life of Beetlejuice. Still stuck in the Netherworld, he shares an apartment with his wife Rita, a burn victim with 9 fingers who Beetlejuice denigrates and humiliates.
I'm telling you, honey, she meant nothing to me. Nothing at all.
The script expands on the world of the afterlife as he commutes to his lowly janitorial job in a ghoulish supermarket. Why do ghosts need a supermarket? I don't know, but they've got one. The Netherworld's misery, however, gives way to the bright landscape of Hawaii. To pull this combination off, Jims looked to a particular slice of 1960s cinema for inspiration. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian hangs 10 on the tropes found in the beach party genre. These films portrayed teenagers as independent and fun-loving, seeking adventure and romance away from the watchful eyes of adults.
Man, Bonet's really swinging.
The wave of teen-centric films kicked off with Gidget in 1959, a young girl's journey of self-discovery amidst the backdrop of a male-dominated surf culture.
Chico, this is great fun.
I'm glad you like it.
While Gidget laid the foundation, it was the beach party movie starring Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello that truly honed the genre's signature tropes: breezy romances, catchy musical numbers, and comical antics. And that's where it starts to really make sense. Romance, musical numbers, and comical antics make up the best scenes of the original film. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian amplifies what the original already established and mixes in some classic beach party formula. The original Beetlejuice features a plot of forced matrimony, and so the sequel further complicates the same marital plot with a more tangled romantic web, befitting of a teen beach romp. Rita desperately seeks Beetlejuice's affection, but he still pines for Lydia, who has eyes for an idealistic surfer named Kimmo. Later in the script, Beetlejuice charms Lydia enough that it becomes plausible they could have a real connection despite his perversions and, overall grossness.
I always secretly wanted them to end up together.
It's got the same emotional stakes as the 1961 sequel, Gidget Goes Hawaiian, where she's torn between the boy next door and the wealthy vacationer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody I knew.
That our children have progressed to the 3 S's: surfing, speed, and sex. Not necessarily in that order.
Told him you were too mean to be afraid.
Much like the dynamic of Lydia's relationship with her parents, the beach party genre generally depicts adults as antagonistic to the wants of the youth.
I didn't catch your name, boy.
I didn't throw it.
In 1964's Bikini Beach, the Beach Gang faces off against a wealthy industrialist, Harvey Huntington Honeywagon, who views them as a public nuisance and an embodiment of generational moral decline. Honeywagon's primary goal is to reclaim the beach and convert it into a retirement community.
The nerve of that clown. Yeah, he looks like something out of the Twilight Zone. Yeah.
Similarly, Kimmo and his friends protest the Dietz's lavish hotel, and when they can't get a meeting with Mr. Dietz, they resort to kidnapping him, landing them in jail. So bogus. Rebellion not only plays a part in the beach genre's interpersonal conflicts, it also plays into a character's inner growth as well.
Oh boy, when I think all the hours I spent cramming on math and biology.
Lydia, now in college and feeling directionless, is given an arc of self-discovery. First, she rebels against her family's greed to save the island. She seeks out a local shaman and harnesses supernatural powers of her own. Then, astral projects into the Netherworld, where she journeys to find Beetlejuice and scores him a new bio-exorcist license. In exchange, he agrees to help save the island, all under an ironclad contract that Lydia wrote to protect her from another sham wedding. It's an empowering arc that shows how much she has matured since the first film.
I got an A.
Beetlejuice, on the other hand, hasn't matured one iota. He conjures a bikini bombshell to get between Lydia and Kimmo. He transforms both himself and Lydia into mermaids for a date at sea, and even stars in his own self-serving musical number.
There ain't nothing but a poach shark, baby.
When none of that works, he makes a sleazy deal with the local spirits and slips her a love potion, breaking his contract and landing her in yet another marital kidnapping plot. The guy's basically Pepe Le Pew with superpowers. The madcap schemes that play out during Beetlejuice's romantic pursuits feel like direct pulls from the Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello Beach Party series, all of which crank up the tropes set by Gidget to levels of genuine absurdity. The alluring beach girl is instead a mysterious mermaid. The complicated surf trick becomes a skydiving publicity stunt, and the manly outcast becomes a biker whose finger has the power to paralyze.
The boss did it again. He gave himself the finger.
And if that isn't absurd enough, 1965's How to Stuff a Wild Bikini features a shaman who conjures a magical bikini-clad woman to keep other guys away from Frankie Avalon's girlfriend. Beetlejuice's finger-snapping magic doesn't seem out of place in a genre like that. It seems perfectly reasonable for him to disguise himself as Texas tycoon Monty Exxon and earn the Dietz's approval by winning a surf competition. I really want this movie to happen. With Lydia firmly under Beetlejuice's spell, the script digs up the original film's wedding climax, this time with a blue Hawaii makeover. But hold up, you're saying. If the sequel doesn't feature the Maitlands you're pointing out, who's gonna stop the wedding, you ask? Sounds like the perfect time for another beach party trope. The celebrity cameo! Beetlejuice's mother interrupts the ceremony to stop her son from foolishly breaking Lydia's contract, which would have been met with a netherworld punishment worse than death. It's a deus ex machina ripe for a celebrity cameo. Bette Midler? Shirley MacLaine? Oh, Kathleen Turner. Oh, would have been great. Whoa. The script climaxes with Beetlejuice releasing Lydia from the love spell to make good on his contract by raising hell on the island, scaring the rich tourists away. This plays with another beach party trope, the chaotic fight scene, mixing thrills with laughs. While these films would cartoonishly tear up a small set, Burton would have gotten the chance to indulge in even more puppets and animation than the original. As wild as this script is, Burton was interested in developing it further. Impressed with Daniel Waters' work on Heathers, Burton approached him for a round of rewrites, but instead signed Waters to write the script for Batman Returns, effectively putting Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian into development limbo. The same could be said for Beetlejuice, who is banished back to the Netherworld, where he mistakenly drinks the love potion and falls head over heels for his wife, who no longer has to fight for his affection, which is a happy ending? It's weird happy though, right? The script's development, however, didn't get its happily ever after. Gems left the project in order to focus on a different Burton collaboration, Mars Attacks. By August 1993, producer David Geffen hired Pamela Norris of Troop Beverly Hills and Saturday Night Live to do a rewrite. Then, Warner Brothers approached Kevin Smith in 1996, who turned it down in favor of Superman Lives.
Didn't we say all we needed to say with the first Beetlejuice? Must we go tropical?
In March 1997, Jonathan Jims drove the final nail in the coffin, saying the Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian script is still owned by the Geffen Company, and it will likely never get made. You really couldn't do it now anyway. Winona is too old for the role, and the only way they could make it would be to totally recast it.
I think we scared him away, so let's just leave him alone, all right?
Or just wait another 2 decades and make a completely different sequel. It's Hollywood, babes! Momentum is a fickle thing, and taking a risk like putting Beetlejuice into a surfing contest is a rare thing indeed.
That is why I won't do 2 shows a night anymore, babe. I won't do it.
On the surface, Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian sounds like a total misfire of an idea, but there's no denying that the sequel would have continued Burton's legacy of mixing polarizing aesthetics while drawing inspiration from niche genres of the past. Beetlejuice will probably never get the full Hawaiian treatment. All we can do is sip a fruity cocktail, snack on some roaches, and use our imagination.
Is this a figment of your imagination?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about movies that never got made, mixed in with stuff about movies that for sure once got made. We've got them both right here on Cinefix.